Hello, BookTube. Well, despite the fact that yesterday was Tuesday, I completely forgot to do a tag. So I have a tag to do today on Tag Wednesday. And the tag is part of a magnificent ongoing series. Jim, at Jim's Books and Reading and Stuff, is doing a collection of tags around the alphabet. And we are all the way up to the letter O. So we're going to finish this series. If he keeps going at the rate he's going, we're going to finish this series before we finish the year. And the O tag has a million great prompts. I'll leave a link to Jim's video, and I'll just get right to the prompts. All centered around the letter O. First prompt is O is for 124. The number is 124. The address in Beloved by Toni Morrison. Is there an address in your reading that stands out? And for me, it would be 001 Cemetery Lane, the address of the Addams family. O is for Once Upon a Time. What is your favorite fairy tale? Unlike the bulk of BookTube, I do not care for fairy tales. I just don't like reading. They're boring to read. And all pastiches, all adaptations, all larger lachrymose, which boy will she choose, YA fantasies based on fairy tales are all boring. So I don't have a favorite. I don't care about fairy tales at all. I just don't care about them at all. The next prompt is O is for Observer's Books. Do you have any? I hadn't heard about them until I saw Jim's video. I Googled them. It seems like an interesting story, but I don't think I've ever even touched one, much less read one. O is for Olga Tokarczuk or Orhan Pamuk. Have you read either of these Nobel Prize winners? I read one Tokarczuk, and I've read all of Orhan Pamuk. I love Orhan Pamuk. I think his books are fantastic, just fantastic. My Name is Red. What an amazing book. What an amazing book. If he'd written nothing else, that would be plenty for me. Then we have O is for Old Curiosity Shop. What is your least favorite Dickens novel? And any answer I give here is going to be heresy because I don't have any favorite Dickens novels. I've never really touched on the magic of this author in the way that his fans have. But my answer, I guess, is even more heretical than that, because my least favorite, I've read all of Dickens. I've read all of Dickens, most of Dickens, many times, trying to find that magic. My mind's not closed to it at all. But my least favorite reading experience of them all is Oliver Twist, who is, it's a fairly popular Dickens novel, but just seems to me to be so incredibly arch. Just the writer saying, "Isn't this clever? What about this? Isn't this clever?" Bean, you are slurping again. Oh my God, with the slurping. I don't know what explains it. Bean, stop slurping, baby. You have to stop slurping. It's very distracting. Let's see here. What do we have next? O is for oldest. What is the oldest book in your collection? I've mentioned this before. I have a fairly old book that I don't keep here. I never keep it in any apartment where I live. It's in a safe deposit box. I shouldn't keep it in a safe deposit box and pay the fee every year. Instead, I should take it out of the safe deposit box, wrap it in a padded envelope, walk it over to the Brattle bookshop, and have them estimate it for me, and just let it back into the wild. I should just let it back into the wild. It was given to me by a dear friend under wonderful circumstances, but it is just antithetical to every aspect of my identity as a book person to be keeping 3 books in a safe deposit box that I'm never going to touch or read. I never bring myself quite to do that, but I really should. I really should have those appraised, get them out of that box and out into the world, where somebody might like them a lot more. But it's from the Northern Renaissance. It's many centuries old. O is for Oxford. What is the last book you read set at that prestigious university? These kinds of questions, what's the last book you read set in X, Y, or Z, baffle me. Usually, I just don't pay attention enough to that kind of detail to zing right in on the answer. With Oxford, I'm not even sure that my answer is right. I could have read books set in Oxford between now and then, but certainly the one that sticks out is Brideshead Revisited. I did a nice long multi-part read-along of Brideshead Revisited and sank myself into the book all over again, and some of the most famous chapters in that book take place at Oxford. So I'm going to say Brideshead. O is for Ovid. Have you read Ovid's Metamorphoses? And here Jim adds a parenthetical. Steve Donoghue can skip this question because he knows he has read it in English and in Latin. And that is true. I have read it in English, Latin, and French. But I can still answer, I have indeed read it. It is my single favorite book of them all. And I strongly recommend it. There are many, many, many good English language translations, so that if you don't have Latin and you want to give it a try, I believe fully that there are a lot of English language translations, the Oxford, the Penguin, that will pull you into the spell of what Ovid is doing. So you should give it a try. It's not boring. If you're looking at it and thinking, ancient Rome, a poem a poem written in ancient Rome, I don't think I'm going to like that at all. Give it a try. I bet you'll be surprised. Then O is for original. Have you created any original tags? Yes, I have. My most recent one was the Books and Life tag, and I was very happy to see how many people did it. That's just wonderful. And I have a sequel to the Books and Life tag in mind. But I feel like I'm behind in creating original tags. I was going to make an original tag for Book Trek 2021 about the original series Star Trek, and I didn't do it. I think the time has passed for that, but I really want to make an original tag for Star Trek The Next Generation, which is the books that we're reading in September. But yeah, the last one I made was the Books and Life tag, and it was a hoot. And then there are extra O prompts. Naturally, I want to do them all. So let's see what we have for extra prompts. O is for opening lines. Do you have any favorite opening lines? I know that Jim here probably means from books, but he doesn't specify. And of course, the opening I had in mind is the opening to Patton, the movie Patton, the George C. Scott movie Patton. A great, disturbing, unsettling, fantastic, magnificent movie that has a bravura opening scene. Just if you know what I'm talking about, it's completely memorable. You've never seen anything like it in your life. It's just a gigantic, vast American flag, and then right up the middle of the stairs comes George C. Scott as General Patton, stands right in the middle of the flag and gives a speech to U.S. servicemen who are about to ship out under his command. And the speech, once upon a time, I knew people from all walks of society that had that speech by heart, or parts of it by heart. There are parts of it that are just infinitely quotable. I wouldn't give a hoot in hell for a man who lost and laughed. I know some of you are worried that you're going to chicken out under fire. Don't worry. I assure you, you will all do your duty. The Nazis are the enemy. Wade into them. Spill their blood. Shoot them in the belly. When you put your hand into a bunch of goo the minute before was your best friend's face, you'll know what to do. I have to use that as an opening. I don't know of any movie that has as effective an opening as that. Next prompt is O is for Obama. Have you read Becoming or A Promised Land? I have read everything by Obama, yes. I've usually liked it. O is for offensive. Does profanity bother you when you read it? It does, but not for the reason that you might think. Not for any prudish reason. But because profanity is the writer giving up. Either giving up or selling out. Profanity is lazy. It's the laziest writing, aside from cliche, that you can do. It's not prudery, but when I see somebody resort to an F-bomb in the middle of a discussion in order to add emphasis to their writing, instead of thinking, boy, that really adds emphasis to the writing, the only thing I think is, boy, the original writing really lacked emphasis. If you don't know how to use the English language sufficiently to get around the need to use obscenities, and I'm talking about verbally as well as written, if your command of English isn't good enough to do that, you've got no business writing anything. Go back to school and learn how to sharpen your English language skills, as opposed to resorting to something that's going to shock your reader into paying attention. It's your job to make your reader pay attention. You're not supposed to shock them into doing it. So it offends me, yes, but not in the usual way, not in a prudish way, but because it's a sign that the writer is saying, I give up. I don't know how to goose this paragraph in a way that'll make it readable. Let's see here. O is for Oprah. Have you read or started a book because of a celebrity endorsement? Never. Never read nor started a book because of a celebrity endorsement. The books that got when Oprah's book club was in its heyday, it still is in its heyday, actually. It doesn't make headlines anymore, but it will still make an author's career. Two big forces in the American new book publishing realm that will really help an author. One is if Barnes & Noble picks you as their Discover New Writers program. That will help you a lot. And the other is if Oprah picks you. Even though the book club doesn't make headlines anymore, she sort of took a big step back from it when Jonathan Franzen was such a putz about it. And that was, a decade and a half ago. She still does it. She herself is an avid reader whenever she gets the time. Where she finds the time to even breathe, I have no idea. But when she finds the time, she's an avid reader and always has been. Gives a lot, I believe, to reading charities. But every book that she has catapulted to the stratosphere in her Oprah's book club is something that I was either going to read or had already read anyway. They're always new releases, almost always new releases. So if they're canonical choices, like, for instance, her pick of Anna Karenina in the Pevyar and Volkonsky translation, then it'll be something that I have already read. But if it's a new book, then I've either already read it or I'm going, in the course of my own remit, I'm going to read it on my own. So never because of an endorsement, no. Unless endorsement seems to me to carry a connotation of public. I have had celebrities recommend books to me. I don't know that that counts as an endorsement because I was the only one who heard it or read it in a snail mail letter. I have acted on some of those, but not because of the celebrity, only because the celebrity in question had, over the course of time, convinced me they were also an insightful reader whose reading had taken them in directions that mine had not. So in a case like that, that's as true on BookTube as it is for, a letter from a star in the mail. In cases like that, then I will take a recommendation, but I'm not sure that counts as an endorsement. So I'm going to say no. O is for Oregon, Ohio, and Oklahoma. Have you read any books set in any of these states? I have no idea. No idea whatsoever. Like I said, I never even think about such things. Unless the book was called one of those things, I wouldn't even think about it. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. The S.M. Sterling series, The Emberverse, is partly set in what was once Oregon. Maybe that counts? I don't know. I don't know one way or another. I've been to all those places and very much enjoyed them, especially beautiful, beautiful Ohio. O is for Ontario. Have you read a book set in this province? I have no idea. I don't put travel stickers on my books. I have no idea if I had, if some recent book that I've read, some new release is set in a province, then is set in Ontario. I might have missed that detail. Probably I would have. Usually details like that, location details, don't show up in reviews of mine. I don't concentrate on it. So it could very well be. It could very well be, and I just didn't notice. Can we get out of the map questions? Let's see if the next one is. O is for own. Feel free to add your own prompt here. All right, I'm going to do that. And those of you who do this tag, having found it through my channel, not only do you have to do all of the extra credit questions, but you have to do my prompt. Okay? You have to do my prompt. And my prompt for O is going to be Omar Sharif. And the question is, what's the last sexy book or part of a book that you read? And for me, I read yesterday, I read a biography of the tennis superstar android Roger Federer. I have a lot to say on it. I'm going to try and write a review today, but and I am not trying in any way to say that the Roger Federer who is quote unquote alive today is sexy in any way whatsoever. Unlike his foremost rival, who is a thunderbolt of sexuality, but in his early years, the early years, the up and coming years for Roger Federer that are the first third of the book, did have a charge to them. I think they would probably have a charge with pretty much any young athlete on the go like that, who was concentrating their whole life, their whole being, their whole spirituality, their whole mind, and every single minute of their existence to one sport. There's a certain kind of charge there. It's deplorable, but it's still there. And that was the last time I remember reading something that had that kind of charge. I'm hoping for more. Hoping for more this week. So that's my prompt. O is for Omar Sharif. What is the last sexy book or part of a book that you remember reading? Then the next prompt is the last one. O is for Orwell. What have you read by George Orwell? Knowing perfectly well that I'm going to see this tag, Jim had the nerve, the gall, the unmitigated temerity to ask what I have read by, what was the author's name again? George Orwell? I have, needless to say, read everything by George Orwell many, many times. Okay? But I'd be interested in hearing your questions. I'd be interested in your questions to all of these things. So feel free to do the O tag if you're watching this tag. But if you find this tag through me, do the extra prompts and do mine as well. Omar Sharif. Thank you, BookTube.